Good afternoon, Behavioral Neuroscience, Spring 2025. Happy New Year. My name's Eric Olson, and I'm going to be your professor this semester. I've been teaching this class for over 10 years and have a background, in this subject. I earned my PhD in neuroscience from Wake Forest University School of Medicine. My research has primarily been studying the role of dopamine release and how it changes in animal models of addiction. I've also characterized how dopamine release changes or is involved in fear, avoidance, and reward-seeking behaviors. In this class, I've been teaching more and more online recently, and I've also converted a bit from being more sort of a lecture-based sage on the stage to adopting more of a learner-centric style, where the emphasis is less on me and more on you. So back in the day, I used to 100% lecture and give 3 or 4 tests over the course of the semester. Now, lecture is makes up a very small part of the class. I would say about 33% of your grade is going to come from me lecturing and you taking quizzes on that. What I think is more important, really, is for you to be engaged with learning at multiple levels and hear perspectives from multiple people and critically think about this material. Really, I think the ultimate goal, in addition to teaching you key concepts in lecture, is to facilitate deep and critical thought. And also, as a secondary goal, to teach you specific skills, like in addition to deep and critical thinking, how to harness AI, for example, and use that effectively and efficiently, how to discuss sensitive topics civilly through discourse, and how to write in a variety of styles. So these are some of the things that I try to emphasize in my class now, and try to engage you through learning and challenge your critical thinking through a variety of learning activities and exercises. I'll now share the syllabus and course shell with you briefly, and we will briefly go over that. Let's see. Where's my share? Right. So here's what you can see when you enter the course shell. I just updated the syllabus. It's almost identical to the word-based syllabus that was there. I've just updated it to be in Google Drive so it can be more accessible on your smartphone and tablet and everything like this. But all of the core material is identical to what I posted last week, which I wanted to go ahead and get up there so you can start looking into the class if you wanted to get a head start. I also want to point out that I've added all of the accommodations that I've seen. So if you do not think that I've adequately addressed your accommodation, please let me know. Uh, then if you enter the modules, you'll see that every 2 weeks in this class, you'll have one set module to go through. If you click on the module overview, essentially you'll see that every module you'll review my lecture material. You're going to review 2 books in this class, one by Robert Sapolsky, which will be more of a philosophical, deep thinking type book, in addition to a book by Eric Kandel, which I think will be more sort of lecture type material. So for the Sapolsky book, in every unit, by the second week, you'll post a deep thinking paragraph and respond to some of your peers. I'll go over this again in the syllabus. And for the Candell book, you will complete a study guide that is open note. You can look at the book as you complete that and submit that for a grade. The quiz will be primarily based off of the lecture material, but there will be 2 or 3 questions from the Candell chapter, directly inspired by questions in the study guide. So complete the study guide before you do the quiz. The Sapolsky book will not appear on the quiz at all. That is only for the deep thinking questions. In addition, there is an essay assignment in this class, so begin working on that and thinking about your outline will be your first step there. Right, you would click on the individual lecture components to go through the full lecture for each module. When you're ready to post the Sapolsky post, you would do that here. Here's an access to your study guide for the Candell book, and finally your quiz there. You can access the Candell and the Sapolsky books up here, in addition to the first chapter of the textbook. If you want to see if you want to order this or if you think you'll be fine by just viewing my lectures alone, I think of this textbook as being sort of a supplement that's there to help you in case you do not feel comfortable with the lecture alone before you take the quiz. I will never test you on quiz material or textbook material or textbook content that I do not adequately cover in my PowerPoint lectures. In fact, I will exclusively pull questions for the quizzes from my PowerPoint lectures, in addition to a couple from the Candell book study guide. So now let's jump into the actual syllabus here to sort of go over the finer points here. This is an asynchronous online class, meaning that we'll never have to be in the same room at the same point in time. There are 8 modules, so basically every 2 weeks, the class will reset. There will be one quiz at the end of each module that will be based off of my PowerPoint lectures or my recorded lectures and a couple questions from the Eric Kandel study guide. In addition, we'll be reading 2 books to accompany this. One, the Kandel book, The Disordered Mind, which is going to be more sort of content related to neuroscience, and the other on basically Sapolsky's newest book called Determined, which gets into some more philosophical questions. What makes us behave the way we do? Is there such a thing as free will? Is sort of a big theme in this book. And we will go through fixed periods or fixed chapters in here and consider some of these big, deeper questions related to behavior and where it comes from. And of course, you will also be working on an essay that you develop over the course of the year. The Again, you can access the 2 books, the one by Eric Kandel and Sapolsky, by these links. I do encourage you to buy copies of your own or rent the book, but until you get around to it, I have uploaded full versions of these that you can access in a cloud. And again, the textbook is optional, the Breedlove textbook. It is a good textbook, but again, I will never quiz you on material from that textbook that I do not thoroughly cover in my PowerPoints or my recorded lectures. All quiz material will come from my lectures and a couple questions from the Candell study guide. I will drop your lowest quiz grade if 70% of the students complete your FCQs or my survey of my performance by the end of the term. This will be administered at the very end of the term. And I think it's very important. I very much value your feedback and try to update these classes to make them as effective and accessible and thought-provoking and exciting as possible. So I really can't do that without your feedback. So please let me know what you think of this class, and if enough of the class participates, I will drop your lowest quiz grade. I tend to be very accommodating to life in this class. My big philosophy is generally that the calendar of events and my late policy here are to motivate you to keep you on track to finish the class on time. However, if there are major issues in life that come up, please contact me and we will work out some sort of issue solution. I am very fully committed to universal design and believe in accommodating all student needs and backgrounds. If you are struggling with a content issue or accessibility issue or a discussion or something, or your peers, please let me know and we will work out an equity-minded solution. I think it's really important to stick to the schedule, though. That's the best way to really stay on course. So please try to do so. The assignments here, at the end of every module, there'll be a quiz. You also have to complete a study guide. The study guide is meant to be open note. The quizzes are meant to be closed book. So you can really complete your Candel-based study guide with your Candel book open as you're reading it even. The deep thinking paragraphs that are due every module should be around 200 to 250 words. These will be based off of prompts related to assigned reading from the Sapolsky book. Much of these are going to be not so much about, who founded psychiatry. That would be a question from the Candel book. Here it would be more, what is the basis of behavior? Why do we do what we do? What are the implications for this, even within the context of the criminal justice system? And I will also be very clear, I do not expect you to agree with Sapolsky. I don't agree completely with Sapolsky in a lot of his statements in this book. It's completely acceptable to disagree with Sapolsky. We are not trying here to talk you into or convince you to believing what Sapolsky does. The goal here is to think deeply and critically about what Sapolsky says. Your 200 to 250 words can be completely disagreeing with Sapolsky and making an argument as to why you do. In this, I encourage you to bring in information from other courses. Maybe there was a philosophy class or something, or another psychology class that you took that contradicts what Sapolsky is saying. Please feel free to bring in this information. Completely fine. You don't have to agree with Sapolsky or me to earn full points in these deep thinking exercises. I accept all viewpoints for these. However, to earn full credit, you must comment on at least three of your peers' deep thinking paragraphs within 3 days of the end of the module. You'll also prepare an essay. To get started on this, I want you to find inspiration in something from either the Candel or Sapolsky books. Now, this can be still very far off base of exactly what they're bringing in. I posted one representative essay here on a very far-flung topic, but could be inspired by the Sapolsky book on pedophilia. What would lead someone to be a pedophile, and then grappling a little bit about what do we do with this in society once this has developed. Just as an example. So it can really be a pretty broad topic on anything that really piques your interest from the Candel or Sapolsky books. First, you will submit an outline to me. There's a specific date that you can find in the calendar of events that we'll get to later. I also have a template of exactly what I want in the outline at the end of the syllabus. Just essentially fill out that outline, send it to me, and then we'll have a brief exchange to make sure that we're on the same page about the outline. You next submitted annotated bibliography. Again, I have an example of what this should look like at the end of the syllabus. Here you'll do a little bit of research, pick a list of references, summarize them each with 3 to 5 bullet points. Here you're also going to learn to use a new skill. To prepare your annotated bibliography, you also have to create an AI-generated podcast using Google Notebook. You do that by following these instructions that I have listed here. This is a very powerful tool. Essentially, you will upload one or more PDFs of articles that you find, and it will take them and then create a podcast based off of that information. This is a fantastic resource that I use myself very commonly. I will then, for example, go on a nice walk or go to the gym while listening to these AI generated voices discuss the material that I fed into it in a podcast form. So, very fun way to do research, and I think it will help you prepare your ultimate essay. After that, the next phase is you'll actually use AI, in this case, GPT, to create an AI generated essay. To earn full credit for this, you also have to write a 200 to 250 word paragraph describing the pros and cons of the ChatGPT essay. Again, I've included an example of this and of like just a quick paragraph that I threw together critiquing the ChatGPT generated essay that I included at the end of this syllabus. So you can find a good example there. And then finally, you will create your own original essay. You can even cite the AI generated podcast or the ChatGPT essay as references in your essay. I allow that in this class. Not all professors would, you should know. But I encourage it. I think these are important skills that you need to learn to really be competitive in society moving forward. And I want you to learn how to use these very powerful and important tools. Here are the guidelines for the final essay. It needs to be 6 to 8 pages and then follow these formatting. Here's a breakdown of how everything you will be assessed. Quizzes are about 1/3 of your grade. The rest will be devoted to these other learning activities. Around almost 10% will come from the Candel Open Note outlines. And again, these questions will appear on the quiz. Uh, about 1/4 of your grade will come from the deep thinking paragraphs and responses to your peers inspired by the Sapolsky book. And the remainder of your grade, approximately 20%, will come from the essay that can be inspired either by the Kandel or Sapolsky books. And there are the sort of almost a scaffolding approach to this. First the outline, then the annotated bibliography, then the Chat GPT essay and reflection of the Chat GPT, and then your final original essay. Uh, you know, Discrimination is not accepted. If you feel that I or your peers are discriminating against you in any way, I suggest that you contact the Office of Equity. We will be discussing various sensitive topics in this class, everything from the criminal justice system to uh, incarceration to whether or not there's free will to gender theory. Some very sensitive topics that people have strong opinions about. So I would like you to review these community discussion norms. And if anytime you feel that you are being threatened or feel just too uncomfortable to go on in a discussion, let me know and I will find an alternative path forward that is equity minded for you. There are a variety of campus resources that are listed toward the end of the syllabus. Feel free to consult them. Here is a calendar of events. So every module, first you will have to, I would recommend first submitting your deep thinking paragraph inspired by Sapolsky, while at the same time starting to work on the lecture material. The Candel chapter I would do after the Sapolsky chapter because that study guide and the quiz usually comes second. That allows also you to respond to your peers' critical thinking paragraphs inspired by the Sapolsky book. So by the end of each module, you should have reviewed all the lecture material, read some sort of or reviewed some sort of critical thinking material, most commonly from the Sapolsky book, posted a deep thinking paragraph on whatever material that might be, read the Candel chapter, create or complete the open book study guide that is associated with that, respond to 3 peers' deep thinking paragraphs from the Sapolsky book, and complete your final quiz. And you can see that this occurs in a very, common, consistent manner. There are a few exceptions here. Toward the second half, you can see the essays parts begin to be due, your outline first and the annotated bibliography. And there will also be some times that we have slight deviations to the critical thinking or the essay or the Candel components. Um, you know, uh, for example, here in this one, there's no deep thinking paragraph, but we'll have a special set of considerations, particularly this one involving Dr. Baraz and Candel, in a panel discussion about the neurobiology of gender. Will be the dedicated discussion that week. The Sapolsky discussions will be primarily led by our fantastic TA, who's already introduced herself to you, but I will also be involved in that as well, poking my head in. Feel free to email me and request Zoom meetings. I'm happy to respond either to the virtual office, emails, or to set up Zoom meetings at any time to discuss anything from the essay to neuroscience to either book to life in general and career goals. Whatever it is you want to talk about, I'm here for you. Um, you know, Here is the representative template outline. So all you would have to do is replace your thesis statement here and then sort of create a follow the template guide and then submit the outline template for your first grade to make sure we're on the same page. Here's the annotated bibliography example. Here you can see my link to the AI generated podcast that I created. So that's what I would like the annotated bibliography to look like. And here's the Chat GPT generated essay, including a brief essay critiquing the pros and cons of this technology and the Chat GPT generated essay itself, and a little overall reflection on what I think of it all. And then finally, your own essay, of which there is a representative example of in there's several actually representative examples in the key modules. Here are some final resources for you. Again, I think that this is going to be a fun and exciting class. Lecture is only really one third of it. My philosophy is again to really get you to engage with neuroscience from multiple perspectives and viewpoints, including some that have sort of big picture implications. I think it's very important to emphasize a lot of deep and critical thinking in upper level college classes rather than just listening to me and regurgitating what I say and think and memorizing the little factoids in lecture. Some of that is still important. It is still a third of your grade, but it's certainly been de-emphasized at the expense of other forms of learning. I also believe that providing multiple lower stakes learning activities is an equitable teaching practice that is also much more inclusive, and it also gives each of you more of a voice and a chance to be part of the active learning experience. And finally, I'll add that I think CU Denver, one thing that's great about CU Denver is the student body and how diverse you guys are and come from very different backgrounds and perspectives and lived experiences. I think in a group, the best class, you will all learn as much from each other as you would from me, Dr. Candel, and Dr. Sapolsky. So those will be sort of your sources of information this term, and I think you will learn at a much higher level. Digesting and really considering critically all of this information from multiple sources. So that's all I have. Have a great semester. Let me know if you have any questions at any time.